Here is your Communism Russia review guide. First off, we talked a little bit about communism, command, economy. One of the biggest attractions for people is that they think they're going to get economic equality because they're going to have all the same pay, equal opportunities. This was introduced by Karl Marx in his Communist Manifesto. He was the one that created those main beliefs. Some of the characteristics for a command economy: central planning. All the power is made in one area, all the major economic decisions. They have all the fixed pricing, distribution, and a lot of times they have 5-year plans with quotas versus a market economy, which relies on supply and demand. However, income and wages are unequal. And there's a lot of unemployment, and it relies on private property. A couple key terms: bourgeoisie is the property-owning middle class versus proletariat, which is the working class. That proletariat then is said to usually lead the revolution, which sometimes could be the vanguard of the proletariat, which is a small group within that working class, then kind of gains power. Marx believed all these revolutions would occur in an industrialized country. However, Lenin and Mao believed that it could happen in a country that relied on agriculture. The Politburo is the cabinet for the Communist Party, had around 12 members, makes all the party's decisions. And then there's a central committee that would meet twice a year that would kind of just say, yes, we approve, because they had to and they wanted to move up within the Communist Party. Some of the failures of the USSR: workers had no incentive to work harder, or there was no competition, there was no incentive to make a better product, and also no way to measure production. They were trying to plan one large economy each year. The General Secretary is your head of the Communist Party. Perestroika is the economic and political reforms, where Glasnost is where Gorbachev opened up the media, more openness, liberalization of Russia. Now getting into Russia specifics: illiberal democracy, meaning there's no transparency, your civil liberties aren't always protected, there are elections, but not always honest, and it lacks civil society. So your illiberal democracy is sometimes known as your procedural, versus your liberal is your substantive. Yeltsin versus Putin. Yeltsin was open to Western ideas. He was pro-civil liberties, tried to open up free speech and press, compared to what Putin has kind of limited those things today. Religion in Russia is very low participation because of the USSR. Russian Orthodox Church is the main religion. Other religions are outlawed. They have to register with the state, and most people do not get a license. The impact of Gorbachev's reforms was obviously that the USSR fell apart. Putin, as the president, has the most power in Russia today. He has power to appoint people and take them out of positions. He also appoints the prime minister and can dissolve Congress, or the Duma, sorry. Federation Council represents the regions, has less power today, can disapprove of legislation, even though the Duma then can overturn that, does approve of justices and government officials. The electoral system for the Duma went from a mixed system to a proportional, and now in 2016 back to a mixed system. The term here, asymmetric federalism, means that there is federalism, but some of the regions have much more power than others, and they're much stronger. Civil society, why is it important? Again, civil society are organizations that take part in the state. They promote social and political ideas, composed of groups that bring together people with common interests. Civil society is weak in Russia because it was limited during the communist regime. There's an idea of statism. The government should provide the needs of the people, so the people still rely on this. And again, they still have low participation. Only about 1% of people participate in political parties. Chechnya is one of the areas that there is often ethnic tension because it's a high Muslim population. They have tried to break away declare independence. They do operate on their own constitution, but they are still part of Russia. Now, the oligarchs in Russia are those that are super wealthy, have a lot of control, as long as they do follow Putin's lead. Yeltsin's shock therapy was going from a command economy right to a free market economy quickly, which did not help the economy. Islam is the number 2 religion in Russia. Difference between civil society in UK and Russia, it was not developed under the USSR, so it's very limited. Whereas in UK, they have a lot of participation, many political parties and organizations like Quangos. Nashis, the pro-Putin youth group, they lead demonstrations. They get funds from the Kremlin or from the government to um, to promote the political ideas. Putin has changed the government by creating super districts to oversee the different regions, can hire and fire governors, has more control over the Federation Council. The 93 Constitution does have some checks and balances. The Prime Minister is picked by the President. The Duma can reject that Prime Minister. The President can veto some bills. The President can also be impeached. We didn't really discuss the judiciary that much. However, it does lack independence from the government because it is very, very corrupt. Some review questions to remember. Political parties, unions, and quangos and media are all linkage institutions within the UK. The party that would be influenced by the idea of noblesse oblige is that traditional wing of the Conservative Party, not the Thatcherites. Quangos play a pretty large role. They're interest groups where they take the lead. They're closely connected to government and they're publicly funded. The UK Supreme Court is limited by parliamentary sovereignty, meaning Parliament has most of the power making, decision making, they have the last say. Civil society that has increased in recent years in the UK are environmental groups. The idea of democratic deficit, mostly with the EU, people are getting elected or appointed, not elected, and they are making most of the policy decisions. So the people don't really have a say on who's making the decisions that affect their lives. The plurality system is not the majority system, but whoever gets the most votes wins the election. This usually leads to a two-party system. Your collective responsibility is the role of the majority party in the House of Commons, the cabinet, and they are to make decisions for the country. Lastly, the similarities and differences of the UK and Russian legislatures. Both bicameral can make legislation. They have votes of no confidence. They debate policies. The Duma is elected with a mixed election, whereas the House of Commons are all single-member districts.